Hey there, welcome to this week's In the Shop with Scott. As you can see, I work on my replica canoe. I've got the forms ready, a bunch of strips prepared. Hopefully those are going to work out. Mess around with doing some resawing with the bandsaw. Continue working on those fish landing nets. This video is a little bit longer than my normal ones because it covers about 2 weeks. Took a little break during the holidays. So have a happy new year, a wonderful 2022. Thanks for continuing to follow along in this woodworking journey, and hopefully have a lot more content in this new year. Enjoy. Conveniently, the canoe plans from Bear Mountain Boats included a 1/8 inch replica, so I used this, made some templates to make the forms for my replica canoe. I marked each station mold on a 1/4 inch Luan ply and then cut some 3/4 inch plywood to be my strongback. With that done, I moved on to cutting out all the station forms. Using the 1/8 inch blade on the bandsaw, it made cutting these forms out very easy. I wish cutting the full-size forms went this quickly. With everything cut, I just used some Starbond CA glue to put it all together on the form. I messed up the stem mold and had to reattach it correctly, and then cut some small strips of painter's tape to keep the strips from sticking to the molds. Next, I worked on making sure the joiner bed was 90 degrees so that I could run some material through for a quick Christmas project. And almost forgot to remove the digital scale before starting up the joiner. Using a leftover piece of ambrosia maple, I joined one edge to get a nice square face and edge, and then ran this through the table saw to get the width I wanted the piece to be. Check out this cool hat from Saw and Milco and shirt from Restored Designs. I'll put a link down in the description if you're interested in any of their products. With the piece cut down, I went over to the bandsaw to cut the thickness in half so I could get a couple pieces out of it. This is going to be coasters, so I don't need them very thick, and threw them in the planer. Here you can see how well the discharge chute works. Don't forget to check out the video where I installed this on my DeWalt's DW735 planer. And then back to working on some more nets. I picked up some walnut and ran this through to get me a smooth edge to start with, and then started cutting the handles out of ambrosia maple. Here you can see I had quite a bit going on. I've got one net in glue up and sanding some cutting boards that need to go out to a customer. Busy shop over the last few weeks. Being one to never leave anything alone, I wanted to improve the dust collection on my router setup for the slot cutter bit on the nets. All I did was take a 2.5 inch dust collection port and round the edges off to make it smoother. Using some leftover strips from my full-size canoe, I cut those into shorter lengths to use for the replica, and then ran them through the drum sander to make them even thinner. I then cut the cove and bead off each side. Now the tricky part was to get this very thin piece into even smaller strips. I used a pencil to provide just enough tension right before the blade so I could pull it through. and then pass these through the drum sander to make sure I had an even, smooth thickness. As you can see, there's quite a few pieces here. I've had this hackberry log in my shop for well over a year now, and figured why not try resawing it on the bandsaw. It went alright, but ultimately I'll just throw this in a burn pile. It was more just a test to see what I could do than anything I wanted to use. A few days later, the glue was set on both these nets and it was time to sand them down to get to a standard thickness I like to use, which is right about 7/8 of an inch thick. As you can see here, one net is all walnut for the hoop, and then here the next one is a walnut inner and outer strip and ambrosia maple for the center section. I really like the contrast on this one. With the nets flat, I could work on sanding down the strips to the handle for a nice smooth finish. I have some plans to improve the dust collection on this. The port from the factory is not very good. Here I'm using that new dust collection setup for the slot cutter bit. And the next thing to work on is the dust collection for underneath. As you can see, a lot flies out. And wrapping up the router work with the 1/4 over round over bit for the inside and outside the net and handle. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and throw some comments down in there.